Hello you guys, and how everybody's doing. And I know it's been a while since I uploaded the video, but a brother had to work. That's all I'm saying. And I've been tired, to be honest. I was kind of lazy with it, but I'm on it. I'm being consistent this time. Never talking, nothing but action. I promise you guys. Nothing but full uploading gameplays and full uploading reaction. And when I react to stuff, I have to really be into it. But the only thing that I react to is trailers, movies that I like that are coming, are Mr. Nightmare's videos, or scary stuff in general. So sit back, relax, and we're gonna watch Uber horror stories. And a person who does drive Uber, it's kind of scared for me, but I don't think nothing happens because I usually, sometimes it's nighttime, but mostly it's like in the morning or like the evening time. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the video.
What you're about to hear was the worst night of my life. I went out to a downtown club with my boyfriend and his friends on a Saturday night. My boyfriend and I hadn't been getting along for a while, and at some point in the club, we had an argument. I didn't want to be there anymore, so I went outside and called an Uber to pick me up. It was raining that night, so I waited under the awning of a building nearby to the club.
And don't you hate what Uber? You have to like walk to the specific
I
location.
walked over, and the woman driving
I don't like that part about
and I
Uber.
said yeah, and then her name. She said yes. So I got in the back seat. I asked, "How are you?" And I'm pretty sure she didn't answer.
That's a
When I didn't hear a
female.
response to my question, I shot a glance up from my phone for a second. The woman had both hands firmly planted on the steering wheel. She was driving in a very stiff, upright position. She also had very curly hair and a somewhat darker skin complexion.
Okay.
She was driving down the street I usually took to get home, only she was going the opposite way.
Uh-oh.
I didn't want to speak up and correct her just yet, because maybe she was taking a different route. The further we went away from my house, though, the more concerned and frustrated I got. Finally, I spoke up and told her she was going the wrong way. She said in a horrible, thick accent, something about how she was going to the highway instead. I knew for a fact the highway wasn't the quicker route, though.
Ding, ding, ding. That's a red flag right
The
there.
phone vibrated, and I looked down to see the notification from Uber. It said on my screen, "Meet Uber driver now."
Oh, shit.
I opened up the app, and it said my Uber had just arrived at the point I was originally standing at,
People...
and that the car I was supposed to get in was a black Nissan. At this point, I started saying in a louder voice to the driver that she wasn't my Uber. I asked her to pull over and let me out. And when she didn't seem to acknowledge me, I started to actually yell and push at her seat. Even though the car was moving, I even tried opening the door, but the child lock was apparently off.
Oh, snap.
After a little more yelling, she finally looked at me through the mirror.
This lady
and
planned
to the
this.
side.
This lady planned this.
The door clicked unlocked, and I got out of the car and walked away from it. My actual Uber driver was calling me, and I picked up, apologizing, and asking him to come to my current location. He said he'd be right over.
Okay.
5 minutes later, the car pulled up. When I got in the car, I explained everything to him. He stopped the car, looked at me, and told me I just escaped a sex trafficking trap.
Oh,
There have been
snap.
reports of multiple fake Ubers going around trying to trick unsuspecting victims into getting into the car to lure them to unknown locations. It was apparently part of a sex trafficking ring, and the drivers were usually female to appear less intimidating to the female victims.
Oh.
I just want to stress to everyone to make sure the car you're getting into is actually your Uber.
Wow. That's why they have the picture in the picture of the car on the app. So please.
One night when I was decently drunk after leaving a bar, I started messaging people on Tinder. Some girl named Alicia had messaged me, so I messaged her back. She answered almost immediately, asking what I was doing that night. I said I was just leaving a bar looking for someone to hang out with. She wrote back, "You should come over and smoke." I said, "Yes, send me your address." She sent back her address
I got
promptly.
5 on
It
it.
seemed like the quickest, easiest, most ideal Tinder match a guy could ask for on a Saturday night. I called my Uber to drop me off at that address. The driver pulled up in his Honda, and I got in the front seat. Usually I would get in the back seat, but I was decently drunk and feeling extra social. The driver seemed cool. I was honest with him about where I was going, telling him I was about to meet a girl from Tinder. He laughed and said nice. He started going on about his stories meeting girls as an Uber driver and such. On the way there, I asked Alicia for her number, and she gave it to me. I started texting her, and she gave normal answers. When we got to the house, the driver said the house seemed familiar to him.
Oh,
Had to admit it did look a little sketchy since there were no cars in the driveway and the lights were off. He told me to be careful. I thanked him and said goodbye, and he drove away down the block and stopped near the end, I'm guessing setting up his next ride. I walked up to the house and tried to ring the bell, but I didn't hear anyone from the inside. So I knocked on the door. Then I tried calling Alicia. It went to voicemail after one ring, but she texted me right after saying it's open, come inside. Then there was a knock at the window, which almost gave me a heart attack. I looked at the window, and even though there were no lights on inside, I saw the blind was slightly lifted. Someone was waving their hand on the other side of the window. Before I tried the door, a number not saved on my phone started calling me. I assumed it was Alicia, so I picked up. But instead of hearing the voice of a girl, I heard the familiar voice of my Uber driver.
no.
He ordered me in a very concerned voice to walk away from the house right now.
Whoa.
I then saw the Uber driver's car pull back up in front of the house. He told me to get back in the car.
Okay.
I hung up the phone and listened to him. As
Okay.
soon as I got in the car, he drove away from the house and told me that the house was vacant. In just the previous month, someone had been lured into that house, robbed, and murdered.
Oh,
It was a story that likely could have been similar to my own
damn.
had I stepped into that house. It was a lot for me to take in, but I thanked that Uber driver the best I
Thank
could.
God for the
I
Uber
even took his
driver.
number because he was so cool and I couldn't appreciate him enough.
Thank God for the
The
Uber
next
driver.
morning when I was sober, this was even more
I thought it was a
disturbing
setup
to
at
me.
first, but thank God for the Uber driver.
It was a Monday night, a slower night for an Uber driver, especially in our bum-ass town. So when a trip request popped up on my screen, I jumped on it. I was picking up a guy named John. I drove across the neighborhood to a corner liquor store that was closed at this hour.
Okay, so he's the Uber
There were
driver.
two young guys waiting on the
Store.
corner, and when I pulled up to the curb, they got in the car. I confirmed John's name to make sure he was who I was picking up. Then I started heading to their destination. The two whispered to each other, and it was a little odd. I looked at the rearview mirror every once in a while, and every time I did, they would both notice and look back at me. I kept trying not to look, but I found myself accidentally doing it over and
Oh,
over.
there's some crate by it.
I asked them where they were headed. Neither of them answered. I figured they didn't hear me because the back window was open and there was wind noise. So I asked again. This time one of them yelled Harris Avenue.
Please don't tell me they're holding
Which
hostage,
was to be
or they're
polite
gonna be
and
his
small
designated
talk.
driver
It did let me
to
know
wherever
these
they're
two
gonna
were not
do.
exactly people I wanted in my car. I felt my big toe press a bit harder on the gas instinctively,
Uh-oh.
just knowing I wanted to get there sooner. We got to the street, but the apparent address they wanted me to pull up to was some run-down storefront with a group of guys in front.
Ooh.
I slowed down and asked if this was it. I turned around to face them and saw they were both wearing masks now, similar to the masks from the movie The Purge.
Ah,
I felt something press up against the back of my shoulder. I
damn.
assumed it was a gun. They told me pull up to where the guys were outside. I did
Damn.
so. Three big guys also wearing masks came up to my window, demanding my wallet.
Damn
I
it.
gave it to them without hesitation, and the two guys in the back seat got out. The five masked men all together walked away from my car, one of them kicking at my door while passing. I drove away and reported it to Uber, who said they'd get in contact with the authorities.
God.
It Turned out the info used on that John person's account was all fake. He was using a stolen credit card. I lost $250, my IDs, and countless cards in my wallet.
That's a
I'm just
shame.
happy I escaped with my life.
That's a shame. Oh, it's only 4. Oh. I thought it was only 3.
After leaving a friend's Super Bowl party, I called an Uber to drive me home. When I got in the Uber, there was a guy in a baseball hat sitting in the back seat. I didn't say anything to acknowledge it. I just said hi to the driver. I figured I must have called an Uber pool instead of just a regular Uber. I didn't care though. We got to my house, I got out of the car and shut
Well,
the
Uber
door.
pool is like less.
I heard the second door shut on the other
It's
side.
cheap basically.
When the car drove away, I saw the guy who had been sitting next to me in the baseball hat, standing in the street, facing in my direction, but his head down so that his hat was covering his face. I said, "What's up? What's going on?" He started to walk away. Still, I knew something was going on. So instead of walking to my house, I started walking around the block. I saw the man on the opposite sidewalk across the street walking in my same direction. When there was an intersection in the street, I turned. When I saw he did the same thing, I ran. When I saw he started to run too, the adrenaline kicked in, and I sprinted faster than I'd ever ran in my life. I ran faster than him, and when I made it to my house, I ran to the backyard before he could possibly see
So
where
this
I went,
motherfucker follows
and I
you?
went into the house. I called the Uber driver at once, and he told me the guy next to me said he knew the next guy the Uber driver would be picking up, which ended up being me. The driver had his info, so he said he would report the guy. I don't know what happened because I never called or texted the Uber driver again. I also don't know why exactly that guy would be targeting people getting out of Ubers, but it definitely taught me to be more cautious with Uber rides.
Stupid. Wow. Really? 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 People out here doing that? We can't just go home. We can't just go to a party and just go home safely. We gotta have crazy people in the party. Then afterwards they want to get more even crazier. The first one, was just so, it was just so mind blowing that a woman is doing a job to pick up a female for sex trafficking. Then you got the second one. Thank God for the Uber driver. Thank God for the Uber driver. That he said, "Oh, this house looks familiar." So a couple minutes later, the Uber driver calls back and just come back to the car because he knew something in his gut that it just felt so familiar. The third one, what was the third one about? Oh, the hostage. Oh, I think that was the worst one. You're just in the car driving, and you don't even know that a person has a gun. Like your what's it? Customers has a gun, has a weapon on it. That's just crazy. And the fourth one, crazy. Like I said, you can't enjoy yourself going to a party, and you got a crazy person that you don't even know. Like they're in the house, and all of a sudden afterwards, they want to follow you and be ugh. But I don't know if it's the worst, being the Uber driver or being the paid customer. Um, I have to say like 50-50 because when you're an Uber driver, and this is vice versa, because it's gonna be the same thing I'm gonna say. You never know what's that person's intention. It can be the Uber driver can be a setup, or the customers can do anything to you and just be a scammer. So and just just be careful out there. And they do have the app. They do show the picture of the person and the car, and they do have the exact location. It's like literally when you see the app and you see the person, you can see them coming from this direction anyway. And it might be better if you're like a younger person, either call someone like your mother or your father or one of your best homies, they can like track the app, and while you're on the app, they can see the app too. So that works. That works for it. Or have a weapon, not like a gun, like some mace, or like a taser gun. So tell me guys what you think, and give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, share, like all that great stuff. And until next time, peace. Have a blessed one.